Topic: Top 10 Things You Didn't Know About Ancient Egyptian History Channel. Ancient Expedition. Are you sure Cleopatra was Egyptian? She was Greek. Did you know the first toothpaste was made from ash and burnt eggshells? And that the pyramid builders were not slaves. They were paid laborers. Welcome to Ancient Expedition, where we uncover the forgotten truths. When you think of ancient Egypt, what comes to mind? Probably the colossal pyramids, mysterious mummies, or powerful pharaohs. But today, we're diving deeper into this mystical desert land. I've spent weeks compiling 10 facts that even history buffs might not have heard of. These facts are strange, incredible, and will make you see this civilization through a completely different lens. Fact 1. Hundreds of pyramids are still undiscovered. Perhaps the most mind-boggling fact about ancient Egyptian civilization is not what we have seen, but what still lies buried beneath the desert sands. The truth is, we have only uncovered a small fraction of the pyramid legacy. Leading archaeologists today believe that across the territories of Egypt and ancient Nubia, there are still over 100 pyramids that are completely buried, or hidden deep underground, utterly untouched. Why haven't we found them? The answer lies in the harsh realities of nature and time. Over millennia, the desert wind has done its job perfectly, completely covering smaller structures, turning them into seemingly innocuous sand dunes. Or sometimes, the flooding of the Nile has eroded and destroyed much of the surface structure, leaving only buried foundations. Many pyramids from later dynasties were built with mud brick instead of limestone blocks, making them far more susceptible to decay and disappearance. However, modern technology is helping us see through time. The use of ground-penetrating radar, GPR, and infrared satellite imagery is revolutionizing archaeology. These tools allow scientists to detect squared, geological anomalies, or buried burial chambers without ever having to dig. Recent discoveries of lost cities and massive necropolises confirm that countless secrets remain beneath the Egyptian soil. What does this mean? It means that Egyptian history is still being written. Every time a new pyramid is discovered, we don't just find stone and mummies. We find new stories, ancient texts that could challenge our current assumptions about construction techniques, religious beliefs, or even the origins of certain dynasties. The biggest mystery is not how the Giza pyramid was built, but how many similar wonders are still waiting for humanity's discovery. Fact 2. Cleopatra was not Egyptian. This fact always comes as the biggest surprise. When we mention Cleopatra VII, the powerful and seductive queen, we immediately think of the ultimate symbol of ancient Egypt. But ethnically and genetically, she was not indigenous Egyptian. She belonged to the Greek Macedonian lineage, specifically the Ptolemaic dynasty. The Ptolemaic dynasty was founded by Ptolemy, the first Soter, one of Alexander the Great's most trusted generals. After Alexander's death in 323 BC, his vast empire was fragmented, and Ptolemy seized Egypt, declaring himself pharaoh. This dynasty ruled Egypt for nearly 3 centuries, 305 BC, 230 BC. Throughout that time, members of the Ptolemaic family maintained Greek traditions and language. They rarely learned Egyptian and often married siblings to keep the royal bloodline pure. Cleopatra was an exception. She was the first member of the Ptolemaic dynasty in about 300 years to learn and speak fluent ancient Egyptian alongside Greek and several other languages. This speaks to her extraordinary intelligence and her deep effort to connect with her people, a politically astute strategy. She honored Egyptian gods and appeared in public in traditional attire. However, despite her efforts at assimilation, she remained a product of Greek culture. Her story thus becomes a magnificent historical tragedy. A Greek woman ruling the Egyptian kingdom, using her charisma and intellect to manipulate powerful Roman leaders, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, all to protect her kingdom's fragile independence. Cleopatra's downfall and her choice of death over being paraded in Roman triumph ended the entire Ptolemaic dynasty and closed the glorious chapter of ancient Egyptian civilization. She was a pharaoh, but she carried the blood of Greece. This cultural fusion makes her one of history's most complex and compelling figures. Fact 3. The pyramids were not built by slaves. This is perhaps the most widely misunderstood fact, perpetuated largely by decades of Hollywood cinematic depictions. The image of thousands of exhausted, whipped slaves building a tomb for the pharaoh is deeply embedded in our consciousness. But the archaeological truth tells a completely different story. The men who built the Great Pyramids, particularly those at Giza, were not captured slaves. They were skilled workers, hired and paid for their labor. Archaeologists have discovered the builders' villages near the pyramids, and these findings have fundamentally changed how we view the monuments. These villages were not concentration camps, but organized settlements, providing full amenities for tens of thousands of people. They were provided with high-quality food. Evidence shows they ate large quantities of beef, goat, and fish, along with bread and beer, a crucial part of the ancient Egyptian diet. This level of good nutrition is impossible to sustain for a brutally treated slave labor force. Crucially, archaeologists found cemeteries dedicated to the builders right near the pyramids. Analysis of the remains shows they received advanced medical care. They had bones that had been reset after fractures, a job requiring high expertise, and serious wounds were treated. This proves they were valued workers. Being buried near the great work they contributed to was a social and religious privilege, never afforded to slaves. The pyramids are therefore not just architectural wonders, but also symbols of highly organized labor, effective resource management, and profound religious faith. These craftsmen believed they were working directly for the divine, the pharaoh, and the construction was an act of sacred honor. They weren't just building a tomb, they were building the path for the pharaoh to the afterlife, ensuring the stability of their own kingdom. The real history is far more complex and fascinating than what Hollywood portrays. If these facts are changing how you see history, please help me bring these truths to more people by liking this video. Your single click is the biggest motivation for future discoveries here at Ancient Expedition. Fact 4. Ancient Egyptian women had incredible equality. While women in most ancient civilizations, from Greece to Rome, were considered dependent property and their roles were confined to the household, a completely different picture was painted in Egypt. Ancient Egyptian women held near equal rights to men. This was not just an anomaly. It was a testament to their societal progressiveness. Imagine this: an Egyptian woman had the full right to own and manage property, including land, slaves though rare, and personal belongings. They could inherit property, and crucially, they could sign legal contracts on their own, without the guardianship of any man, be it a father, husband, or brother. They could sue in court independently, and were treated equally as a plaintiff or defendant. Women's divorce rights were also particularly noteworthy. Unlike many cultures where divorce was a male prerogative, Egyptian women could initiate the termination of a marriage. Upon divorce, they were entitled to keep their personal assets, and even received a portion of the communal property stipulated clearly in the original marriage contract. This provided them with significant economic protection after the relationship ended. This equality extended to professional roles. We have evidence of female priests, female merchants, and even female physicians, an extraordinary fact for the ancient world. Women were not just queens like Hatshepsut or Nefertiti, but also laborers, earners, and contributors to the economy. They ran weaving workshops, traded goods on the Nile, and managed estates. This compels us to reconsider the entire scope of human history. While many societies struggled for women's suffrage into the 20th century, ancient Egypt, millennia before, implicitly recognized their worth and capability. This society did not just honor women's intelligence, but gave them the opportunity to exercise it. This is not just a highlight, but a ray of hope for humanity's capacity for progress, even in its earliest times. Fact 5. They performed surgery and had their own medical textbooks. While much of the ancient world relied on magic and spiritual beliefs to cure illness, the Egyptians developed an astonishingly scientific and empirical system of medicine. Egyptian medicine was far more advanced than we generally imagine. The clearest evidence lies in the preserved medical papyri, most famously the Ebers Papyrus and the Edwin Smith Papyrus. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, dating to about 1600 BC, based on much older texts, is a surgical treatise. It describes in detail how to diagnose, treat, and prognose 48 types of injuries, from clavicle fractures to head wounds. It instructed doctors on how to stitch wounds, set broken bones, and apply splints. Egyptian doctors understood the importance of the pulse and the circulatory system. They viewed the body as a system of rivers, blood vessels, and when the flow was blocked, sickness would appear. A simple yet logical understanding of physiology. They were also experts in herbal remedies. The Ebers Papyrus describes over 800 remedies and chemical compounds to treat everything from headaches and digestive issues to psychiatric disorders. Some of their practices, such as using honey, a natural antiseptic for wound dressing, are still effective and informally used in folk medicine today. These discoveries prove that the Egyptians were not just great builders. They were also scientists who laid the foundation for the study of the human body and the treatment of disease. They were truly pioneers ahead of their time. Fact 6. The first toothpaste was made from ash and eggshells. If you've ever complained about the taste of modern toothpaste, you might want to reconsider after learning about the oral hygiene formula of the ancient Egyptians. Dating back to approximately 5000 BC, this dental care habit proves they were a civilization extremely focused on personal hygiene, not just for health but also for appearance. They invented the first version of toothpaste, using surprisingly crude and unexpected ingredients: pulverized volcanic rock salt, sea salt, mint for fragrance, and burnt eggshells or the ash from ox hooves. It sounds repulsive, but this coarse powder mixture had a strong abrasive effect, which helped remove plaque and remarkably whitened teeth. Their biggest dental problem was that their high-carb diet bread often contained significant amounts of sand and grit from the grain grinding process, leading to severe tooth wear and gum inflammation. Therefore, a strong abrasive was necessary. They didn't use plastic toothbrushes like us. Instead, they used thin sticks from the Salvadora persica tree, also known as the miswak, which were chewed soft at the end to create bristles. These tools were known as chewing sticks, and are still used in some parts of the world today. The invention of this early toothpaste and toothbrush not only shows a concern for hygiene, but also a deep understanding of dental issues. Perhaps it is thanks to these horrifying methods that the Egyptian smile shone brightly and has been preserved throughout the millennia. Fact 7. Cats were worshipped as gods. If you think you're a devoted cat lover, the ancient Egyptians took cat adoration to an unimaginable level. To them, cats were not mere pets. They were sacred beings, close to the divine, and were treated with absolute reverence. The main reason for this was that cats were considered the embodiment of the goddess Bastet or Bast, the deity of home, joy, music, and protection against evil. The image of a cat sitting watchfully and its ability to hunt venomous snakes inside the home made them living symbols of protection. This reverence was so great that the laws of the time were extremely strict. Harming a cat, even accidentally, could result in capital punishment. The famous account of Roman soldiers being attacked by Egyptians just for unintentionally killing a cat demonstrates the severity of this rule. When a family cat died, the entire household would enter a period of deep mourning. All family members would shave their eyebrows to express their grief and respect. Afterwards, the cat would be meticulously mummified, sometimes placed in a small sarcophagus, and buried in sacred animal cemeteries. Archaeologists have found thousands of cat mummies, wrapped in linen and decorated like royalty, confirming this deep and boundless love and veneration. This is a powerful example of how religious belief and practical life, their pest control ability, intertwined, creating a society where a cat could hold a higher social status than many people. Fact 8. Papyrus started the writing civilization. Before the paper we use today came into existence, the ancient Egyptian civilization engineered a revolutionary material invention: papyrus. This was more than just a writing surface. It was humanity's first major leap in efficiently storing and disseminating information. Papyrus was created from the papyrus plant, which grew abundantly along the Nile River. The manufacturing process itself is a testament to Egyptian ingenuity. They peeled the plant's stalks, sliced the inner core into thin strips, and then layered these strips crisscrossed. Using pressure and the plant's own natural sap, they pressed them into a light, thin, and surprisingly durable sheet. It is thanks to papyrus that the Egyptians could record every facet of life, from massive religious texts like the Book of the Dead and royal decrees, to the most mundane records like love letters, invoices, and divorce contracts. Without this material, much of their knowledge in medicine, astronomy, and law would have been completely lost, forever buried beneath the sands. A standard papyrus roll could stretch dozens of feet long, neatly rolled for easy storage. The invention of papyrus overcame the limitations of carving hieroglyphs onto heavy stone, difficult to move or clay too heavy, enabling the Egyptian civilization to spread knowledge and manage a vast empire effectively. This was a revolutionary step, laying the groundwork for the concept of paper and paving the way for the development of organized libraries and knowledge throughout the ancient world. Fact 9. Mummies weren't just for royalty. To the Egyptians, mummification was not merely a magical ritual. It was a spiritual science aimed at preserving the physical body, the prerequisite for the soul Ka and Ba to achieve rebirth in the afterlife. While we often think of the mummies of pharaohs Tutankhamun or Ramesses II, the truth is that mummification was by no means exclusive to royalty. Access to mummification depended on affordability. The wealthy received the highest quality, 70-day process, including the removal of internal organs and their separate preservation. However, ordinary people were also mummified, albeit with simpler and lower-cost procedures, sometimes involving only soaking in natron, a natural dehydrating salt, and wrapping. This shows that the belief in eternal life was a deeply ingrained part of every layer of Egyptian society. Most interestingly, animals were also mummified in staggering numbers. Cats, dogs, falcons, crocodiles, and even scarab beetle creatures associated with the gods were mummified as offerings or to be buried alongside their owners as sacred companions. Archaeologists have excavated vast catacombs containing hundreds of thousands of animal mummies, indicating the scale of the mummification industry and the importance of these creatures to their religious and emotional lives. This widespread practice is not only a cultural custom, but also proof of their advancements in chemistry and anatomy. Having gained a clear understanding of decomposition and how to preserve biological tissue. Fact 10. The ancient alarm clock. In the middle of the desert, with no electricity, the Egyptians managed to wake up on time using a water clock to measure time at night, and a sundial during the day. Interestingly, some priests even designed an automatic water system. When the container filled up, the water would make a noise to wake them up for ceremonies. An ancient idea, but functionally, it's not so different from our moderns, from the gods, the rivers, to the massive stones in the desert. Ancient Egypt will always be a mirror reflecting human wisdom and the aspiration for immortality. And you, which of these top 10 facts surprised you the most? Thank you for watching.